'Tis the season once again for decking the halls, hanging your balls, and painting gnomes. This is a session I did a few years ago, a couple of times, acrylic on canvas, but today we are going to paint with watercolor on paper. It's a little bit easier, more people have the items that we need, the materials in order to paint, and it's faster. So make sure you have a pencil, an eraser, some watercolor paper would be best, but if you don't, that's okay. And your watercolor paints, brushes, maybe one wide brush and one very small brush. And we're all set to go. All right, we three gnomes. All right, so I have my model that I'm going to go by, and I have my pencil and my eraser, and that's all we need to start. So remember, I am doing 3 different gnomes just to give you an idea of maybe there's one style that you want to do. Maybe you like the hat of one and the beard of another, okay? So it's just up to you. First thing we're going to do is start with the nose. Decide how tall you want your gnome to be and just put the nose there. I'm going to make this gnome kind of tall there. I'm going to do a shorter one in the middle and maybe another one average height over here. The first hat I'm going to do is going to be like a really tall hat. It's going to droop over with a pom-pom, but it's still covering the gnome's nose. So just make it go down around the nose. It's very skinny at the end and then gets a little wider as it comes down into the hat. And it's going to have a big pom-pom on it. Okay, this beard is going to have a bit of a mustache to it. They almost look like angel wings. And his beard is going to look fluffy and come around like this. All right, I'm going to do his body later. I'm going to deal with the beards and the hats first. This guy over here, he's going to have maybe a Santa type hat. So he's got a big fluffy brim here. And the hat's going to come up like this with a little point, and then it droops down also with a pom-pom. Maybe a fluffy pom-pom to match his beard. And his beard is going to come, let's make his maybe a pointy beard. And it's as long as his feet are. Maybe it even has a little curl at the bottom. All right. And his whiskers are tucked up under his nose. This one over here, I think I'm going to give him, I'm going to give him a pointier hat. Hangs down over his face. And just has a little ball at the end. And his beard is going to be like a snowstorm. And again, the whiskers. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to put some legs on them. This guy is going to have skinny legs. We have to make sure that all of their feet land in approximately the same place. So he's going to have skinny little legs with some high top booties. That curl. Can't see his arms because they're hidden under his beard. This guy over here, well, let's see. He's short and stocky, so he has pants that are a little baggy and hanging over his shoes or his boots. And all we see are his little mittens poking through. Can't even see his arms because his beard is so wide. Then there's this guy over here. Let's make him the wizardy looking one. He's got long sleeves. And a long robe that's just barely covering his feet. Can hardly see his mittens because he likes to have them covered. Okay, pause this wherever you need to. These are the gnomes. When you're finished drawing your 1, 2, or 3 gnomes, then you can press continue. Okay, so I have my water jar, I have my brushes nearby, and I have my watercolor paints, and more if I need to. I'm going to start with their noses in the middle. Now when we work with watercolor, if you have thick watercolor paper like I do, you have to be careful not to put the paints too close to each other while they're still wet, because then they will bleed. So the first thing I'm going to do, take some just plain water on my brush, and I'm going to put it just on the nose. Then when I put the paint on, I'm going to go with an orangey reddish color. It'll only go in that spot. It won't go anywhere else. And then I'm going to do the same with the other noses. There's my noses. Next thing I'm going to do is probably their black boots, so I can stay away from the hat. The beards, because they're white, we're not going to paint the beards completely, but we will give them some, maybe some blue or purplish or gray to give them some depth. But let's get some black out. We're not going to wet the boots first, we're just going to put the paint right on the boots. When I leave a little white spot on the top of something like the pom-pom or the shoe, it just means there's a little bit of light touching it, and that's why it's a bit shiny. Okay, I'm going to give these guys all matching colored outfits. You can see by this one that I did, I gave this guy the same color, this one a little bit the same, but this one I gave different colors. You just do whatever colors you want. If you want the hats to be a different color than the outfits that they're wearing, that's fine. I'm going to start with this guy over here. I think I'll give him some sort of green that I have on here. One thing about watercolor, my friends, if you find the noses are too wet, take a towel and then just dab them a bit, and then you're getting all the puddles off and they won't bleed into the other things that you're painting near them. As long as they're not too wet still. that's a handsome suit. I'm going to go and touch up some colors to make them a little darker, because when you have watercolor, it dries very lightly. So I'm going to go back over these little mitts with this man here. And I'm just going to add a little more pink to their noses. Just very light color, because they really faded a lot. Uh-oh, you can see with my gnome over here in the green that when I put more pink onto the nose, it touched the green that was still wet, and it pulled some of that green over. So I'm just going to wet my brush and pull that green off. You can also do it with a paper towel. Dab it and just pull that color off. Okay, so we are going to go over our pencil lines where we have white. The beards, the little fluff around this hat, and the cuffs on here. So I would suggest using either making a very light gray. So I got my little puddle pot here. I'm putting some water here, and I'm going to add some black. But I'm also going to put some blue in there, because mine's going to be like a bluish kind of gray, and we don't want it very dark. I'm going to add more water, and I'm going to see how that goes. I'm going to put it around going around my pencil lines. I also want to go over the pencil around the nose, just to make the nose color stand out a little bit more. See how this one stands out a bit more than these two? Okay, I'm good with that so far. I'm going to go and put the beard on my little red gnome. Same light bluish gray. Okay, and Mr. Green Jeans over here. I want to give him a little more of a pink again in his nose, because the green got in. Who likes to see green noses? Ew. Okay, on with the whiskers. If you want, you can always outline everything with black fine liner, and that would look pretty awesome. I am going to just wait until these dry a little bit more before putting a little bit of a background on. This was done in acrylic, as I may have mentioned that. So what I did first was put the background on, because once that dries, then you can paint on top of that. You can't really do that with watercolor. So, okay, so my little guys are dry, and I just want to put a background on, so I'm just going to brush some water into some of the areas here. Not super puddly, remember. And then add my colors. Woo, that's super dark. Now see, it wants to keep going, but it's stopped by the fact that there's no water down here. So if I bring it down here, then it'll come down here. Putting some red and blue, and I'm not filling in all the space. It does not have to all be filled in. I can see that this guy over here needs to have his beard a little bit more pronounced. So I'm going to go back with my thinner brush into the watery gray blue that I did. I just added a little bit more black to make it darker. And I'm going to go back over his beard lines. And my friends, I think we are done with We Three Gnomes. I hope you enjoyed this one. I have a lot of tutorials on my channel, Yayla Productions on YouTube. Check it out, give it a like, and tell all your friends. Happy holidays, everyone. Bye.